Hey everyone, welcome to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. I'm Melissa Albers.
And I'm JJ Parker. This podcast is for seekers, seekers of happiness and joy, seekers of a centered approach to success in life, seekers of their true, authentic selves.
Get ready for some real talk on everything from anxiety, emotions, and habits to love, compassion, and forgiveness. We know you'll be challenged and enlightened by this conversation. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
Welcome back from vacation, Melissa. You all
Thanks.
You all recovered?
I am so zen, it is nuts.
That is a different response from
We'll see
like
how long
a lot
it
of
lasts.
vacations that I take where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm back from vacation. And can just sit at my desk. So you had a very relaxing vacation, I take it.
I
Okay,
did.
tell us what you did.
An exceptionally good. Well, first of all, I took 2 weeks off.
That's a long time.
Which is, yep. The only time I usually ever take 2 weeks off is if I'm going to see my friend in the UK because it's such a long travel, or if I'm going to Europe. But in this event, I took 2 weeks off and went to Marco Island for a couple weeks.
In Florida?
In Florida. Yeah. It was an amazing time away.
So
and it was
who'd
so
you go with?
relaxing.
A big crew? Just the two of you?
So
What do you do?
we have one of my besties lives down there with her husband. And so I rented a place a few blocks from them. And then our whole family came down for the first week.
The kids too?
And then they left. Yep, the kids and their significant
Kids
others.
got time off of work?
And-
Lucky them.
Yeah, I know, for a week. And then at the end of that week, they left. And then my bestie from the UK flew in, and she was with me the second week.
Nice.
So it was almost like, it felt like two full different
Right,
vacations
yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
Without the hassle of moving and repacking and all of the things.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think I'm getting pretty good at this vacation stuff. I think I'm getting it figured out.
What's the scene? Like, paint me a picture of what Marco Island looks like, because I don't even know where it is. I just guessed it was in Florida.
Yeah. Marco Island is a little. It's about an hour away from Fort Myers, and it is an island. And it is, it's not a very big island. It's only 6 miles by 4 miles, and in size. And it was very, very crowded, so that part was not very fun. But yeah, it's just a place where.
So it's like on the Gulf. So it's like more like kind of calm waters, white sandy beaches, sunshine, like that.
Yes.
that whole vibe.
That whole vibe. And you know what I've also realized, though, through a number of experiences, is that all of those things can still be present, and I can still not have a good time if my mind isn't right.
So how did you deal with that? I would like to explore that, because when I go on vacation,
so
it's
like a bat out of hell trying to get out of town.
Experiences.
Yeah. Well, and don't get me wrong. There's still travel chaos. Delayed flights. Everybody got on the plane, and we had to deplane because the bathrooms broke. I mean, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But
what are they like? Okay, here's the situations. No bathrooms. Who wants to sit here for 3.5 hours? Raise a hand.
With their legs crossed.
Or do you want to get off
No,
and have
it
us
wasn't
fix
even
it?
an option. Everybody get off the plane. And we waited for hours for them to find a new plane. And then we were worried about the crew.
Right.
I mean, all that stuff happened. But have you noticed that I haven't even entered into that energetic experience of even talking about that until now, about how the whole thing was? It's all mindset. It has been such a journey for me in how I used to take off for vacations versus how I am now. And this year I was super intentional. So
when did that intention start? Or when did your awareness that like previous vacations were kind of like stress relieving, but also kind of stress inducing? Like, when did you realize that was happening?
Well, I always knew that I would get really spun up before I left for vacation. When I was in sales, I wouldn't go to bed before we left. I would be up the whole night before doing quotes, trying to get all my stuff together. I mean, straight commission sales. You don't sit back much.
So you maybe had like a work pattern around travel that was like, have to be ultra prepared, can't miss the flight, like anxiety about even just going. So that probably spilled over into your personal travel.
Yes, exactly. So it used to be very stressful just getting out of town. And then it would take a day, 2 days to come down. And people talk about this all the time. People say, well, yeah, it was a week, but the first couple of days, people say it like it's a foregone conclusion that that's how it always is. But that's only a decision. That's a choice. So I actually was experimenting a little bit with this. So last year, I went down also for 2 weeks. And I don't know if you recall, but I lost my dog. Our dog passed away
like right
a couple of days before
yeah.
that. Oh, so when I went down on that trip, I was absolutely 100% devastated. And I just was kind of reflecting on this year and what I wanted it to be and feel like. And I focused more on how I wanted it to feel. So I decided that I kind of traced back to, when do I start getting spooled up? What's the story I'm telling myself before I do? And how can I stop that pattern before I am just like up to my neck in my old habit of doing that? So one of the things I noticed is I would end up booking a lot of stuff, coaching stuff or follow-up work that I needed to do right up to the minute of being gone.
Oh,
that would be one of the things that I would do.
So you're saying like one of the ways you can deal with your anxiety around workload was to pack as much work in right before you left. I recognize that.
Yeah, because won't that feel right?
Yeah.
Then you won't feel bad. Can't feel guilty if you're doing all the. Okay, I just changed that this year. So I got as much done as I could, but I started to say no way earlier in the process than I than I ever have before.
That actually, that's funny. That never occurred to me that was an option.
Okay, because here's what my biggest driver was the week before I left? Guilt. Yeah. Guilt was my biggest driver. So someone would call, hey, I really would like to have a conversation with you.
I really need you this week.
Is there any way? Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, God, don't tell him you're going to be gone for 2 weeks. Like, wow, you should feel terrible. Yeah, for sure. I can talk to you at 4:30 a.m. on Monday morning. How would that be? Because my flight's not until 6.
Right, yeah.
Whatever. I used to do these ridiculous things. And by the way, that is such a self-important perspective that is not real. It is not real. But that's the story I told myself. Okay, so this year, I was like, nope, I am leaving a bunch of gaps open in this last week before I'm gone. And I will become more willing to say I'm going to be gone too. Because this is the other thing. Don't tell anybody you're gone. That makes you sound like you're just lazy, which I'm so not lazy. I'm such a I had my girlfriend call me a workaholic. I was like, what? You think I'm a work? She's like, yeah, I do. Yes, I think you are.
But I mean, this is again back to your work stuff. You've always been a like eat what you kill sort of person, right? Like if you don't make the sale, if you don't take the client, if you don't do, then it affects your paycheck. Yeah. So
exactly. Yeah. Well, and it affects your self-esteem. I mean, truly, it goes way deep,
right? Like when you kind of
your self-worth. Yeah, that's a better word.
Tie your income to your self-worth.
Yeah.
And, it's a vicious cycle right there.
It is a vicious cycle. So I actually started to decouple from all of my weekly expectations earlier on than normal. So that's one of the things that I did.
That's a really interesting technique. I really like that.
Yeah. The other thing that I did was I told people, which is also not something that I do, I told people, I am not working. I will not be working. If there's an emergency, yes, please let me know. And in 2 weeks' time, I had one conversation. And it was wonderful. And even the conversation I had was absolutely fine. It didn't spool me up. It didn't put me in a mindset. So this is the other thing I got really, really, really cautious about. Once I was on that airplane, that's usually when I would start to just like decompress. Is like, okay, can't do anything now. We're on the airplane. But what I actually did was start focusing on what kind of thinking patterns that I would pay attention to. So normally I would start this whole mental checklist. Did I forget this? Did I forget that? Oh, I should call this person. Maybe I should still do that before. Now what I did was anytime something would pop in my mind that was not favorable, whether it be worrying about the house, whether it be worrying about vacation, I simply said, I choose to relax. I did. I actually said that to myself. I choose to relax. I choose to disengage from the anxiety and stress.
You weren't worried that you left the garage door open or you left Kevin at home?
No. Kevin! No. And now the people around me were still in the almost fight or flight mode about work. You know, the kids, they all work. Everybody works. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. If I'm going to take this time to try to restore myself, I'm not going to squander it. It's too important. And I think for the first time, I was able to really do that. And I feel so different. Like I was in the mode immediately. Now, at the end of the first week when my family all left and my girlfriend came, there was a moment there where I started feeling like, oh, they're all going back to their, the real world. Am I a terrible person that I'm not doing that?
It's funny that isn't it funny that like you'll refer to it as the real world? Yeah. Like, right?
Yes.
As if when we're on vacation, we're living in a fake world. That's what it implies.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Yeah, or like it's a dream. While you
were on vacation, and especially during that transition period where you're moving into your second vacation, like what
with bells on, by the way, so fun. Okay,
was there something you were doing like to keep you sort of in this like choosing to relax mode? Like when you did you find yourself like slipping back into like some habits or some things like, ooh, I should check my email. Like, ooh, I should go tinker with this. Like
one night I did, and it was a Wednesday night, and I didn't sleep very well. I woke up feeling comfortably and habitually unrested. In other words, how I feel sometimes when I'm spooled up at home. And I actually gave myself a good talking to, and I walked around and I said, that's it. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. And so I went out for a walk and walked on the beach.
Oh, interesting. And that got you back to like your centered space.
And I didn't do it again. So I feel really proud of myself. I feel really proud of myself because I've never done that before. I've never gone all in with an experiment like this to really restore my energy and my focus. I feel so much better since I got back, like just being able to do the things that I want to, not feeling triggered by anything, not letting little things bother me.
That's awesome. Let me ask you about what I always refer to as re-entry. For me, whenever I go on vacation and then I get back to like work life and home life and the routines of that, like, that Monday at work, I always refer to as re-entry. And I generally will say, wow, re-entry was really hard today. Because you know what I mean? It's like 1,000 emails. I'm like not joking. Probably 1,000 emails. Everyone needs my attention for something. And there's like catch up, like what happened, get me back in.
Oh, I know.
And
I know. It's so true.
How did you deal with your re-entry?
Well,
after we talk about that, we're going to stop using this idea that we're leaving reality when we go on vacation.
Okay, got it. Yeah, no, you're right. That's true. Okay, so I did different things with this as well. I did not pack my Monday and Tuesday. Monday, I went and got my hair done in the morning.
Okay.
Who does that after 2 weeks of vacation? No one. No one. But that's what I did. I was like, nope, I am not going to step back in to the rat race feeling like hit the ground running. It was just, nope, we're not doing that. So that was one of the things that I did. And, we've talked about this on previous pods, but my girlfriend Fiona from the UK, is it's a 6-hour time difference. So she can't do her work even if she wants to from here, except for a couple of hours of overlap. And so what she did is she put on her voicemail, because it's, expensive to check your voicemail and stuff like that internationally. She put on her voicemail, I am out of the office. I will not be picking up my voicemails. Please do not leave one. If you choose to reach out to me, send an email. Okay? That's what she did. There's also this great idea that Ariana Huffington put out, which was an email that said, thank you for your email. I am on vacation. I will not respond to this email. I will be back on this date. If you need me, please send another email.
Yeah, I've heard.
And the number of emails that she replied was just like microscopic because people figured it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice job.
I feel like, as we're talking about the tactical execution of being on vacation, I feel like I cannot overstate this. So I'm going to again. It is not about your activities. It is about your mindset. It is about your mindset.
Yeah.
If you are making a decision to create the conditions and circumstances for your body, mind, and soul to rest, why be counterintuitive and fight them?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because I find myself, especially, with kids, like when we would, go on vacation with kids, I'd always refer to it as a work trip because it was so much work.
Yes.
It's just so much.
It's not a vacation with your kids. It's a trip.
But even there, reflecting back on those harder vacations with the kids, even there, I went into those vacations with a story that this is, that I had to pack all this work in. Taking this time off was a luxury that I probably couldn't afford. Like I do emails and, I had all of this preconceived notion about what it should be. Yeah. Yeah. Which probably just caused it to be that. Right.
And be more of that. Like it just brought whatever you would give attention to.
So I just sort of attracted
so probably did more of
that experience.
Yeah.
And I was actually like, was it last week before? I also like went on a trip for a week last week or 2 weeks ago. And out to Colorado with the kids, but the boys went separate because it was Ethan's senior trip, Yeah. letting the high school kids have doing their own thing. And it was just me and Abby. And like I wasn't intentional about that trip whatsoever. I did do my normal thing where I kind of like pack a bunch of stuff in. But then as soon as we got in the car and like I was the only driver, so I had to drive 13 hours just myself. So I couldn't, so I couldn't sit on my phone. I couldn't sit. Other times when we've done that drive, Amber drives, I sit on my laptop for like 10 of the hours, like I'm working while we're going.
Right. I remember that.
Which like is kind of silly to do. So like this was actually kind of more forced disconnection just because it was just me and Abby, and like I really wanted to be present with her during that trip. It was like that's like one of my goals for the year is just be more present at home. Yeah. And it felt great. It felt a lot different than a lot of other trips. And when I got back, Amber actually asked like, "Oh, did you get a lot of work done while you were out there?" Because she was kind of assuming, I'd have nights free because the sun goes down early and there's not much to do in the mountains at night. I was like, you know what? I didn't even feel that compelled to check my email or do anything. It was really kind of nice. Yeah.
I think, do you think it's also because we're getting a little older that we feel like that? Sorry. There's just a couple of things, though, as you were talking. I'm sorry, what did you say? No, here's the other thing I think is a slippery slope. Everybody has a different level of interaction with work that they do. And on vacation, a lot of people will tell themselves, well, I have to do a little work so that I can actually not worry. Yep. Or, okay, so I think, though, that this is, and I think that's true. I think that's true. And I also think it's a slippery slope and isn't true.
Yeah.
It's like, so it's a difficult thing because you want to be supportive that everybody has their own process and people relax and need to relax in different ways. But I think the work interaction thing is a really interesting thing to think through.
I have always tried to toe the line that's like, hey, when you're on vacation, disconnect. Don't worry about email. Don't worry about Slack. Don't worry about anything at work. We got it.
Yeah.
There was a lady that worked for me, Brooke, who would always check her email over vacation. I was like, Brooke, stop doing that. Like, we got it. Like, do you not trust we have it? Do you know what's the deal here? And she goes, it's less anxiety for me to just spend 15 minutes a day cleaning up my inbox and just dispatching the things so they're not blocked on my inbox, than it is for me to not take that 15 minutes. So I was like, okay, fair enough. And then, because I'm a hypocrite, like I would always work on vacation, so I was not setting a good example. But that was the first time I was like, oh yeah, okay, you're right. Like there is, for some of us, like it actually relieves stress to do some of those maintenance things. But I think that if that's true, again, you have to be very intentional with your mindset. Can you actually time block 15 minutes and then can you go 100% back to your full relaxation? I don't believe you can. I don't. I think there's an on and off ramp, and how long is that? How good are you at boundaries? Right? Like, and I don't think people are really very good, especially when it comes to like this almost like mindset switching. It's kind of like a multitasking thing. Like people do not multitask, so we're not good at multitasking.
Right,
so
exactly.
Switching your mentality. Yeah,
regardless of what we say to ourselves about it, we just, I agree with you. And I think, like just as we're talking about like this idea of truly rest, really I really needed the rest. I need to restore and reset myself. I wanted
to ask you specifically about that. For a few more minutes.
Am I in trouble?
Well, what did you need to rest from? Like, my question to you is...
Myself, my own expectations for output, my own expectations for workload.
Yeah, because I was like thinking like, okay, like if we're talking about vacation, I'm like, what is the point of vacation? A lot of times for me, point of vacation is actually like not vacation, it's adventure seeking. But if I was to like really think about like specifically around rest and recovery, like what are the things I can recover from, like physical things? Like I am tired, I need a physical break, like mental or intellectual stuff. Like I've been using my brain too much and I just need to not use it because I'm tired.
Right. Yeah.
For me, especially, sometimes it's social. Like some of the best recovery I have is like by myself. Like and then like maybe, I don't know, other things. What are the other things you could take a break that you might need some recovery time from?
Well, no, I think that you've listed all the big ones, but here's another question.
But you said another one, self. I need rest from myself, which I think is really interesting.
Because that's the main one. It's just me and me. No matter where I go, there I am.
I'm spending all this time with myself and it's really stressing me out.
I need a break, and no matter where I go, there I am.
And insert the entire like alcohol and drug industry.
Oh my gosh. And the self-awareness industry.
Yeah, and the self-help industry.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to be a little more aware of my own internal beliefs about myself. It's easy to place blame on workload, jobs, kids, whatever, financial obligations, whatever. And the truth of the matter is that the one common denominator in all of that is yourself.
Okay, so I think what you said is 180 degrees wrong.
Here we go.
Well, you're actually not trying to take a break from yourself. You're actually trying to find yourself again.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Okay,
because,
fine.
well, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of the things we talked about, this is just like there's work and family and money and all this stuff, right? And it's actually kind of like molding you and like causing stresses on you and putting pressure on you and all of these external factors. And what you just described as your experience to me sounds a lot like you just recentering yourself and getting back to yourself without the pressure, without all those weights on you. So
and okay, you're right. That's really, really a good call out. And I just had this little awareness as you were talking, is that, have you ever found like it's easy to have your own boundaries about things when you feel good?
Oh yeah.
And then right, it's easy to say, well, this is what's best for me, and I'm going to just do that. But have you ever noticed that when you start getting more tired or overworked, or your brain is just feeling fatigued, or your body is fatigued, it's much harder to hold your center. It's harder to hold your own boundary. And so you find yourself taking on more because you know better, but you don't seem to have the strength. Maybe that's not the right word, but totally you don't have the same focus.
Word.
Yeah. And so you almost then need to just completely step out for that reset so that the ball can stop spinning, and then you can sort of recalibrate back to a speed and a cadence and an activity level that you feel best in.
Yep. Well, this is good. This actually really changes my perspective on what my next vacation should look like.
Well, and I just think, honestly, the whole idea of getting ready to get ready, it's like, what can you do to set yourself up for it? It isn't just calling the travel agent. It isn't just booking the flights. It's what are you going to do to help yourself
so
be successful?
Here's the thing. You want a recap of the conversation? Because I wrote it in my notebook because I thought it was so good.
You did? So good.
First was like, set your mindset. Like, what's the story of your vacation that you're telling yourself about how it's going to be? Then basically have a pre-vacation, which is make sure your schedule's not super packed right up to the second you get on the airplane or in the car. Just start lessening the workload. Pre-gaming. Before your vacation starts. And then set everybody else's expectations of you. Like, that might be at work, that might be with your family, with your parents. Like, hey, I'm doing this, and here's how you can interact with me, or not interact with me.
Or not, but this is how I'm doing it.
And then for sure in those first couple of days, focus on your thinking patterns. Like, are you falling back into a thinking pattern? And you said, choose to relax. Make a choice to relax. And then maybe partway through your vacation, check in and realign that. Make sure you're not falling back in.
It works.
And then for coming back home, just, again, keep the schedule light the first couple of days. Don't just slam yourself right back into the old way.
Right. And then don't forget your auto reminders for your email and your voicemail. Be very thoughtful about what you want people to do, how you want them to act about you being gone, and drive that by your messages.
This is awesome. So as far as I can tell, the way you become a better podcast host is to go on more vacations and come back with some more wonderful insights like this.
Okay. See you in a couple weeks.
Did you enjoy this episode? Please go to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review so others can discover it as well.
Growing self-awareness is a lifelong journey, and there's always further to go. And it's better when we're all in it together. Please think of someone you know who could benefit from hearing today's conversation and share this episode with them. We can't thank you enough for listening. Until next time, happy exploring, seekers.